It's an anniversary that coincides with the annual Holocaust Remembrance Day, established by the United Nations as a day to honour the millions of people killed by the Nazis, but also by various genocidal regimes that followed, including in Rwanda and Darfur. I'm joined now on set by France 24's Shirli Sitbon. Hi, Shirli.
Hello.
Now, many anniversaries are being marked today. This January is also the 80th anniversary of the Wannsee Conference, where Nazi leaders organised the final solution, or rather, the final phases of the Holocaust. Historians have identified a number of key distinct phases that they say indicate that a genocide is in motion. Could you take us through some of those?
Yes. Well, they've identified about 10 stages. They're not always in the same order. It starts with something that's called classification, which is saying that the targeted group is different. There's a notion of us, the nation, and then them, those people. That was in the case of the Shoah, long before the beginning of the war. It started way ahead, years ahead. And then there's a stage where they identify the victims. In the Second World War, it was the Yellow Star, but it can be either identifying elements for other genocides. Then there's discrimination. The discrimination means that rights are stripped away from some of these people. They can't do certain professions. Sometimes their citizenship is stripped away from them. And then in the next phase, the persecution begins. They're also separated from other people, placed in ghettos. The persecution intensifies. There's violence. Then they're dehumanized. They're seen as different, not really human, subhuman. Sometimes they're called cockroaches, vermin. The violence just intensifies, escalates. And then there's what happened with the Wannsee conference or meeting, where 15 Nazi officials decided how to intensify all this, how to carry out the annihilation of the Jewish people. They called it the final solution with extremely bureaucratic terms. They said the final solution of the Jewish question, it will roughly take into consideration 11 million people. That was their target. Then the final stage, or the almost final stage, is the actual annihilation of the people, the execution of the people. There were death camps before Wannsee, but it was all intensified after that. And the final stage of a genocide is the denial. That's what historians say. And actually, it's interesting to know that some of the people, the Nazis who took part in the planification, continued their lives without ever being persecuted, even in German politics, years and decades later.
And as you kind of touched on just then, a big part of the intention of Holocaust Remembrance Day is to educate people about genocides in the hope that it doesn't happen again. But the dangers of revisionism are very much present. Genocide denial is still very much a thing. Indeed, one candidate for the French presidency, Éric Zemmour of the far right, he wants to end a law that's currently in place here in France that bans revisionism. He says it muzzles historic debate.
Yeah. He's not alone, and not all of the people who have the same opinion want to deny the existence of genocide. But there is a threat, some historians say, and people, descendants of victims, think there is a threat. We can see what can happen when we see the case of the Armenian genocide. There are laws recognizing the Armenian genocides, but many countries don't have laws banning the denial of the Armenian genocide. And this means that in many European countries, you can just say that the Armenian genocide never existed and you will not be prosecuted. And what happens is that even the European Court of Human Rights considers that it's free speech to say that the Armenian genocide never existed. There was a case in Switzerland where somebody was convicted for denying it, and then the European Court of Human Rights said, no, that's free speech, Switzerland, you can't do that. So this shows us what could happen if all this changes.
Shirli Sitbon, on this International Remembrance Day of the Holocaust, thank you very much.